Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming. My name is Chris Rateno. I'm the Director of Student Data and Student Data Systems and Accountability for the district. Thank you all for coming today. We are excited at Shaker to introduce Abre to our families. We have introduced Abre as a new platform we've introduced to our students and as well as our teachers, and we are now in the process of rolling it out to our families. So you may have gotten a couple emails from me throughout along the ways, but one of my jobs is really kind of working with student data systems as well as working with student data privacy and kind of how do we make things and all of this student data available and accessible but yet secure. And Abre is kind of a way that we're going to do that to help some of these things there. So Abre itself is an educational, the best way to describe it is it's an educational management system. It holds a lot of different things and it serves a lot of different purposes. It pushes out information, not only news information, but also information about your students if you enter a token to link your students to your account. It allows our teachers to do certain things, access their classes, access certain applications for students. It helps with our one-to-one device programs. It allows us to get news and information out to students through buildings and things like that as well. So it's kind of a universal tool for us that as we shifted to this one-to-one platform 5 through 12, we kind of molded that into it as well to help with it. So today we're going to show you about the actual Abre platform itself. So is everyone logged into the internet and has a Wi-Fi? If you need us to help you with that, we'll come around and make sure that gets you logged in. But once you're on the interwebs, oh, you really broke this one.
I know. I'm like, I was trying to follow the directions. I'm like,
yeah. So if you could go to, and actually in the bar you don't need to put the HTTPS. If you just type in shaker.abre.io, that will get you to the Abre website. So shaker.abre.io, you do not need to enter the HTTPS in the beginning of the hyperlink with the backslashes. Your browser will pick that up automatically, but it is a hot link in the presentation. So you're going to go to the sign-in page, and you'll see the sign-in screen to sign into Abre. So is everybody here? Give you a second to get there. Okay. From this point, you're going to click on the third thing. And like I said, there are 3 different portals. Depending on how you sign in, it takes you to the different portals, and they look different. So our student portal looks different than the portal that you'll see. It looks different than what our teachers see. And there's different kind of accesses, apps, and things like that. If you click on sign in as parent, it will take you to the next login, which asks you to sign in either with your Facebook, your Google account, or a Microsoft account. And the biggest question we get about Abre all the time is, I don't have one of these, or why do I have to use these? And we've done a lot of talking with the company themselves about why don't they hold their own password locker and that sort of thing. What they said is, this is actually more secure. What they do is they send the information out, and the only thing they get back from Facebook or Google or Microsoft is the yes or no. So they will say, so when you log in with Abre and you're using your Google account or your Facebook account, it doesn't take the pictures off your wall and it doesn't take your likes and any of that stuff. It just says, is this you? And if it is you, then it says yes, and it authenticates it back to say, yes, you can have this access. So it's a way for them to use even more security, because these programs obviously have more money than a company like Abre. Their security is built up a little bit more. So it allows them to get an access point to it, but then you can keep it secure, but then also they don't have to worry about that end of it. So if you don't have one of these, we recommend signing up for a Google account. They are free. You can name it your last name Abre, or family name, or some sort of name. That's probably the easiest one to do. And the nice thing about it is when you sign in with your Google account, and I know this for a fact, and you have your email, it will actually let you know that someone has accessed it every time you sign in. So you get that second peace of mind that says, okay, this is me. To sign in initially, it's not that big of a deal. When you link your student information to it, at that point, there are some things that you have access to once you put your students in that you do kind of want to have that background. So, question?
Does the student, when they go to log in, do they need the token that was
No.
used?
No. So when the student logs in, the student will log in using their Shaker. Every student has a Shaker Gmail account. They actually log in, and when they log into the Chromebook, they are already logged into it because it says you're in. So they go right to it. It takes them right to it, and then they can see all their things. So the student only sees their information. The tokens are nice because if you have multiple students, you can get multiple information on your multiple students. You can add students throughout, and add your multiple students into your account. So it's just one stop for all of your kind of students, kind of what you see.
Sorry, one other quick. Can you tell me the website to get there one more time? I lost it.
We'll go right back. It's shaker.abre.io.
.io. And then the other thing I was going to ask you with the credentials with sending to Google, can we use the student's Shaker account if they already have existing?
If you use the Student Shaker account, you will get that student's information only, and it will take you to that student account. So you want to use a different type of student credential for that.
A different type of
No, a different type of Google account.
Google account.
Yes.
If we only have one student in the district, well, I mean, so you're saying if we have two kids, let's say, doing it with their student credentials would only allow them for the one
Yes.
that you sign in with. So, and if we do it with our own Google account, we create our own.
You add the tokens to it, yes. So if you create it with your own Google account, you will add each student, when we get to how to add tokens, you'll add each student account into your account. So when you log in with, so when I log in with mine, when I log in with C. Rateno, I can see both my kids show up because I've entered both tokens.
And you're saying that with the Google account, because that was my first question, I couldn't get past that whole, I've got to give them my Google credentials.
Right.
to get in. You're saying that when you put your Google credentials in, Abre only contacts Google and says,
Abre contacts Google for the yes/no pass-through. So basically, is this credential match? Who's on the Google account and passes through? It does, when you do give your credentials, you do give, and with all Googles, when you give Google credentials to anything, it says you're giving credentials to all of your Gmail, all of that access that's there. But the only thing Abre uses it for, and we've got, is to confirm, is this you? So is this you bringing it back? Now for our staff who uses Google, and for our staff login, it pulls other information in like their Gmail and their Drive and that, because that's useful information for them. But for our parents, all it does is it brings in the true password is this you, and do the credentials match the username? So that's what it pulls through.
does Abre store it?
Abre does not store it. No. No. Abre goes out to Google and says, is it authenticated, and brings it in.
So really you're signing into Google,
You're signing, yes.
and Abre is saying to this person,
Yeah.
is signing to Google.
Yes.
Okay.
Abre is saying, is this, yes. Abre is just verifying that it's you.
Okay, they're not storing any of your
They're not storing any of your information.
password information.
No.
Got it, thank you.
No. That's the big, and that was my concern too with it, and I've gone through with them multiple times about that, because we want to make sure that data is secure. We want to make sure that everything kind of pushes through.
Right, because I never had an independent account where you didn't at least have the option to create your own
Yes.
password.
And that's what we had said, and when they explained it to me, and when Abre came and explained it to me as to why they're doing it, the why made sense to the fact, okay, this is something that's strong. So, and then their caveat was, well, if people are really concerned, they can always form their own Gmail account. I'm like, well, most people don't want to do that. Let's be honest. Like, I don't need another email account. I got enough. Yeah. What's that?
I had to do that.
Okay.
Because I didn't have any of the options.
Yeah, and that's the one unfortunate thing. And I think that as more and more emails are becoming singles, like sign-on, like Apple just announced that Apple is going to do that with some of that. I think they will work with them as well to bring their sign-on solutions into them. But Microsoft, Google, and Facebook are the common ones right now. But they're more and more single sign-ons are coming through with this, because it's just where we're going to. So, do we have everybody logged in?
I got her into her student account if that's okay.
That's fine. Okay, so we signed in as a parent, and now we're on the landing page. So in Abre, this is going to eventually evolve into a place where you're going to find all kinds of student information. It's kind of a joint collaboration. Communications department puts some things up here. Technology puts a lot of things and notices up here. These are called news articles. They change depending. The newest one is always in the upper left.
I got the welcome to.
Yes.
And then it also said that to grab a token.
So when you log in, so what Abre has done is they have put in a self-guided how to sign yourself up. So if you've logged in for the first time, it will take you through kind of this self-guided pace and to get the token. I have all tokens, so we will get your tokens to you.
Okay.
So you can click through and it'll take you through the tour, and you'll see it'll talk to you about the landing page and kind of all of that where we go through. And then we'll get to the point of tokens, and I'll come around with the tokens and get your student name and your student token signed in. So at the end of this, you'll have your students assigned to your account, and we'll show you about your students as well. So once you get through the first, and it doesn't come up all the time. So the first time you log in, you'll see the welcome. You'll see all of the click and show piece. These are news articles where you land upon. If you want to view more, you click on read. It'll tell you more about it. So Abre, there's all kinds of the Abre features in there. Face had, with the original Face Academy, when I took this screenshot, was we had information about that. The district calendar, there's a link to that. A lot of the stuff you find on shaker.org will be duplicated here and kind of moving on. The thing I really like about Abre is the shortcuts part. So shortcuts is in the upper right-hand corner, right in here. And it's also this, and Google calls this a waffle because it kind of looks like a waffle, so it's a Google term. Abre looks a lot like the Google House, and it's actually built on the Google platform for our students. But the Shortcuts app, for me as a parent, is probably one of the nicest things because every educational thing that we're bringing into parents now has its own portal. We've got Naviance, we've got School Messenger where you can set how do you want your, we've got Clever, we've got a million different parent portals that kind of continue on. PTO has a quick link, all of those sorts of things. Well, where are they all? And yes, everyone says shaker.org, and that's a great spot for them. But we wanted a spot for you to also say, okay, when I log into this, this is where they all are. This is how I can get to it. And I can also store my credentials if I want, if it's a login site. So ProgressBook is another one. So when you look at where your resources are, we have gone through and identified these are a lot of the Shaker shortcuts that our parents may know about, may not know about. We may have sent them out in an email, and maybe you kind of said, oh, another email from Shaker. Well, I don't have time to read this one. Maybe I'll read the next 5 that come through, which, sorry, Jen. But, you know, so those kind of things happen. And we want a place for resources where, hey, these are parent resources that are available, and these are the things that maybe you have an account or will use quite often, and kind of ways to get to it. So we've added those shortcuts to you. Students have their own shortcuts as well, and the student shortcuts look different than yours. The student shortcuts are shortcuts, things you may have heard of like Waterford, Dreambox, Clever, things that they go to. Some of our upper grades use different ones. The HMH, which is a textbook company, so the online textbooks are available for them that will take them to those sites. So we have different shortcuts depending on who they, what group they are. Again, when you click, sorry. Yeah.
Can we change which are our shortcuts? So my shortcuts don't show ProgressBook?
Right.
But
So if you click on the waffle,
yep.
and I'll be honest, I'm old. So when you click on the waffle, it's easier to click and drag with a mouse. But if you click it and drag it and put it to one of the top 6, it will change the shortcuts that are. So the waffle shows all of the shortcuts.
Yep.
And if you click on ProgressBook, which is in the bottom, if you use that all the time, if you click and drag that up to the top, it will make it one of, it'll bump some around, and it'll make it one of the top 6. And that's how you reorganize them so you see them again.
So I only see 6. Are there more than 6 somewhere?
We're not getting all of them.
Sorry.
So the waffle is right.
Oh, I was
there.
clicking on that
Yes.
waffle. Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah. So there are 2 waffles. The top waffle next to this waffle right there. Yes. So the top waffle. And it is, so it will take you to all of the shortcuts.
Right, and then you drag it.
And then you drag it to the top.
Up to my shortcuts.
Nope, just right up within the 6, right there.
Oh, I see
Yep.
what you're doing.
And so
Okay.
Cool.
you can put ProgressBook up there, PayForIt, which is always a great one. So all of those where, how do I find it, where do I go? Kind of a way to organize it in a tray to help you out. Naviance for when they get to middle school and high school age. You can look at some of the goals, like college applications, all of that. It's in there as well. Questions about shortcuts? I mentioned announcements. Those are the things that are on the left that kind of tell you what are out there. And now is probably why you're out here. Let's link your student. So next to the waffle is a plus. And now at this point, it's going to be a little slow because I will go around. If you don't have your token, we did send an email a while ago from curriculum@shaker.org. There was an email that was sent to you with your student or students' names and their token associated with it. Don't worry about looking for it because I can find them easier, a lot quicker. I'll just go around with the Chromebook and get you logged in with your token. To let you know, that token, it is a universal token. So if you want to share it with anyone to have information, so if you want to share it with your spouse, or you want to share it with a grandparent, or somebody, or child care provider, if you want, that token is there and it will work for whatever. Now, if you share it with somebody and then all of a sudden something happens and wait, I shouldn't have had that, or all you need to do is let us know, and we will generate a new token, and it breaks the connection between everybody.
Oh, you can get a new token.
So we can get you a new token if, say, somebody has information that probably shouldn't, which happens, we'll just break all the connections and give you a new token and regenerate it for everyone.
How do we contact you?
You can contact me at, I'll give you my email, I'll give you my card at the end, or you can also just helpdesk@shaker.org will get it to you. Or, do you want to use help desk?
What is help desk? I don't know.
No, we don't want to use help desk. Let's use,
I don't even know what that is.
yeah, good. That's a good thing. Yeah.
That's our internal.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an internal. Okay.
Yeah, let's, I'll get you an email so you can get a hold of them. So I'll give you mine.
You're gonna send us all an email.
Yeah, we'll send it out to everybody. Yeah.
My wife already did this using the token. Is her
Right.
token that she got in her email the same as mine? then?
Yes.
Okay, so they've got that coordinated. And then if she's already done this, if I sign in, for example, as her,
You will see your students.
I'll see my student that way and be able to link it so that it'll help her. And next time she signs on
Yes.
her computer, whatever I set up in here during the demo today will show
Yes.
for her. Okay, I can try that.
Can I help? Does anybody need help?
Okay. So now that you've logged in, you can see your student if you click on the View Profile button of one of your students. If you just have one, you click on the View Profile of the one student. And this is the student, Abre calls this the student baseball card. The look that you see is the same look that our teachers see. It's the same look that our students see if they want to see about themselves. So it's the information of our students that are in the student information system. So you'll see the full name, obviously. This is the student email. So that is it is usually last name, first initial @stu.shaker.org. So that's their student email that we have given them. Status is an internal code. You do not see student token. That is only something that I see. Gender, ethnicity, birthday. The schedule is on the right-hand side, so you'll see their current schedule. If they're in elementary school, the schedule isn't necessarily what they have first, second, or third. But Woodbury Middle School and High School, that is the periods they're going to in which school and where they travel. You'll also see across the top assessments. Conduct is not there yet. Conduct is behavior. So conduct would be a behavior. So if there was a behavior referral that is finished, you'll be able to see some of that. That is not there yet. We do have that. We have not opened that up to our staff. So that's not available yet. But if we do choose to open that and use that as a behavior reporting form, you will see any type of behavior referral after it is acted on by the administrator. You would hopefully get a phone call first before you learn about it at Abre.
Alerted if they add something like that, or is it dependent on us that we're just checking it every so often?
I think you get an alert. So I think it does email the person in the account, but I'm not sure. But internal policy is if there's some sort of behavior that happens to your system or your child and a behavior referral, we call. So you'll know from us. Forms are we have forms. We've used forms for one thing. That was our 512 student Chromebook sign-off form. Those are forms that we ask students to sign off so you can see what they are and what we asked your students to agree to. Our Chromebook form was the basic liability form that you understand that this is district property. You need to return it if you leave. You're responsible for damage, like that sort of thing with our form. So the two I want to talk about, and one of the reasons, the big selling features to me with Abre is first in assessments, and the last is in plans. Assessments, we do a lot of assessing, and the two assessments that we use most of we use MAP, and we also have state assessments that are there. MAP, there is not an efficient way to get MAP scores out to parents. We haven't had one that really works efficiently. And state assessments, we get the results back in digital format a lot earlier than we do the actual paper forms that we mail home, and that's a process to mail them home. Getting those assessment results to you in a timely manner is a pretty important thing for us, and also kind of how do you see how your children are progressing. So if you click on assessments, depending on what grade it is, you will see your students' MAP and AIR scores. AIR scores are state tests. So AIR scores are their history of state tests, and you'll see the most recent AIR scores probably from April of last year. MAP scores are based on, MAP scores print as a longitudinal based on the first recorded MAP score that we have. So I think we went all the way back to 2016 to kind of give you progressions. Now typically in MAP, just so you know in assessments, you will see some natural dips. So if your child dips a little bit, don't go home and say, oh, why did you, in spring of 2012, what did you do wrong? No, that's a natural progression. You do see some regressions along the way depending on where they took the test, how they were feeling that day. Remember, these assessments are taken in 1 or 2 days in a certain time. If they were sick or something, that may have an impact on how they do. But we wanted to provide that information for you in MAP. MAP is in RIT. RIT is a made-up unit by the MAP people as to what it is. But if you click on the View Data under MAP, you'll see the individual test scores. And as you move forward in the individual test scores, you'll also start to see, if you click more, you'll be able to see percentage, their percentile, national percentile that they're in. You'll be able to see how long they took on the MAP test. Now that's important because a lot of times when you see a dip, if you click on the test and you see that your child only took 20 minutes, they did a lot of click and goes. And so the dip, and you can have the conversation about, hey, I know this wasn't interesting, because I've had this conversation. I know this isn't interesting to you, but you need to spend more time. On average, MAP tests take at least 40 minutes to finish, sometimes even longer. If you see in the MAP test that your child took 4 hours to finish the test, because we've seen tests where it's taken them that long, you need to say, hey, it's not worth it. That's a little too much, a little too stressful, and we need to move on. So yeah, I would say, typically MAP scores are, 40 minutes to no more than 2 hours. If they're spending longer than that, then we're assessing way too much, and we need to kind of move on. And it's okay to get one wrong.
Well, isn't there a cutoff period?
MAP is an untimed test.
So like when do they say go home?
We say go home when it gets to the point of, hey, we've had enough of this. But we've had students, and in a prior job, I was a principal at a middle school in a different district, and I've had students, and I said, you need to finish and be done. And they've been going out. We got them lunch, and they were still going because they were so worried about getting this good score. I'm like, it's not worth it. No one needs to know that. And then we had another one who was doing like high-level calculus and trying to actually break the thing and get a perfect. So like that one was kind of neat to see, and he did. But again, it was, enough's enough. It's time to go. So your typical test score is between 40 minutes and under 2 hours. We give about an hour for the assessment, and then any more we'll take you to a different place to kind of finish it up. But
I think then they start clicking my kids.
yeah, at some point they're all right. Enough's enough. I'm done. I want to get back to this. Yeah.
If you keep going, the MAP test allows you to continue until you can't do it.
It is 40. The reading test is about 44 questions. The math test is about 36. So it's a specific number of questions. But what happens is if you get it right, it takes you to a harder question. If you get it wrong, it takes you to an easier question. So it changes based on how you answer. It doesn't tell you whether you got it right or wrong. No.
Okay.
No.
Do you mind with my
I got it.
Okay. So, AIR scores. AIR scores are those state assessment scores. So they're the third grade reading, third grade math, fourth grade reading, fourth grade math, fifth. Those are our state scores. You will see those in there. The look of AIR is going to change based on feedback. And that's the one thing we really like about Abre is the feedback we provide to the company that kind of put it out there. Right now, I think it's a bar graph that shows. It's going to say these are going to change to a number, a 3, a 4, a 5, 1, or a 2, based on the actual level that they passed at. So the AIR scores, and there will become, once we post our first round of AIR scores for the new year, which will be soon because our third grade results come back, we'll put a primer as to what it looks like, what this means, how to translate the AIR scores. Because one of the things that Abre does a nice job of is getting scores out quickly to parents, but it doesn't tell you what they mean. Educators know what they mean, but it doesn't necessarily show you, hey, if you're not in education, this is what it means. So for AIR scores, every single AIR score, 700 is considered proficient. So anything above 700 is proficient. 760 is advanced, or is a limit of accelerated, and then above there is a score. What it's going to convert to is you'll see 3s, 4s, and 5s on there. So a 3 is proficient, 4 is accelerated, a 5 is advanced. So those are the scores. 3 is proficient. This will be on Abre as well. There'll be a whole translation page. But a 3 is proficient, a 4 is accelerated, and a 5 is advanced.
Can I go back to math for 1 second?
Yeah.
Just so you know, like when we used to get those things in the mail
Mm-hmm.
about the math, it did tell you, it showed you what they were projected to grow. And
Yeah.
I did see, I could click.
Yes, they're in there.
I just want to say, from a parent perspective, the chart with the yellow line and it was
Yeah.
helpful.
So, and that's one thing that we understand that, and we can get some of those. Those are still available. They're available digitally. You can email your child's principal to say, hey, can I get this map report for this?
Can I request that?
Yes, you can still request it. We wanted to come up with a way to kind of get them out digitally and universally. The printing of those became rather cost prohibitive. It's very expensive to print map scores for everyone, and this was kind of a way that we wanted to say, we can send them to you PDF. What MAP doesn't allow us to do is generate PDFs for every single student and email them out. And so the goal was to have MAP generate something we can generate the reports via PDF and send them to you electronically. But it does not allow that yet.
But just so you know, from a visual perspective, seeing that you have to really know what you're looking for
Yes.
to see what their projected growth was versus what they actually grew versus the percentage. It's actually, if you're not good at interpreting data, this would actually be very difficult.
Okay.
Just from a parent perspective.
And one of the things we're going to do is put, as we continue to develop this, is put some kind of a primer as to this is how to read MAP scores. This is kind of as we get into more and more. So winter MAP scores are coming up. We're in the middle. We're just starting the MAP window. So those will be up there. And when we post them to Abre, we'll start kind of saying this is what to look for. This is what this means, kind of as you click on it. So we'll do some stuff to really educate along the way as to how to read the Abre report as well to help with that.
Thank you.
So,
Can you restate the question when somebody asks?
oh.
Thank you.
I can do.
So does it have like past years in here? Or
So does it have past years? Yes, it does.
how do you put it here?
So to click on the past years for MAP or for the state test. So to click on the past years for either one, you click on View, and it will take you into those past years. So for the tests that they have on record, it will take you to those past years for that.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Other things that Abre has about your student, if you go back to that baseball card, under plans. If your student is on a 504 or an IEP plan right now, if you click on plans, it will generate a PDF of that document. It will generate a PDF of the 504, or it will generate a PDF of the IEP at a glance. So that is only if your student is on a 504 or an IEP plan, but you will have that. That is there. That, for me, is one that is very, very useful. Our teachers can see that and generate really quickly to have that as well. It also secures those documents, so we're not passing around paper. It's a login protected site. So it's there for that as well as a parent. I know that I have misplaced some documents that I've gotten. This is a chance for me to see them as well. That are there. We are expanding the plans that we put in there and continuing to work with to expand plans. So if we develop a school-based plan, we'll also have it stored here, and there will be a history of it as well. So that's one thing we think is really nice about Abre. That's kind of what I have on Abre. Are there any questions regarding Abre? We can talk about parent access for the finish up, or I'm also in charge of the registration and back to school gateway. So questions about that? Oh, here we go. I brought up.
I'm sorry, we're so 5 steps behind all morning, but, so I see all the bars and stuff, but where is like a, how to interpret or measure what?
So what's the measure? Are you looking at state scores, or are you looking at?
I was looking at AIR, and I
Okay.
actually have them at home and saved them, but
Yeah.
I feel like looking at them,
700 is passing,
okay.
and this is going to change.
Okay.
700 is proficient,
Yeah, okay.
and it's going to change to become a 1 through 5 scale.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's one of the things that we have put out to them, is that it's not a efficient way to display, and they're making some changes as we kind of go through. So in one of the next iterations, you'll see.
Just added a key at the
Right.
top here.
And we're going to put in a parent key to those assessments as well on the information tab.
Is this information exportable or printable?
Is the information exportable or printable? I believe you can download it. I know for some of it, I think you can, and your students, you can look at some of that things. Not 100% sure on the parent side. I know for some teachers, we can pull numbers out that we use for some discussion.
Well, because that was, from a parent perspective, I always like printing out and keeping
Right.
a hard copy, because you get in the digital domain, it's like, what happens to all this data at the end of 12th grade, fifth shaker? What's the policy on that? Does it,
We retain data for a long time. That's a good question. It's something that we ask. We do have data retention policies. I think we keep data for students, I think it's up to 10 years, depending some of this stuff. Some of this stuff kind of goes away a little bit, depending on what some of it we keep forever. It just depends. This data is also located in a different format, not necessarily this score, but it's located in a different format in different systems that we keep, and that are actually, we have redundancy built in and everything else. So
are the report cards in PDF format?
they are as of this year. So this is on ProgressBook. This is the first year that we've gone to digital report cards, K through 12, and they are actually in ProgressBook and Parent Access in PDF, and they will be archived throughout from this point on, you will be able to see every report card from a student till 12th grade. So it kind of archives them along the way. So it's one thing, it keeps them in PDF, yeah. It's
Not like at the bank where you can only see so many months.
Right.
We've looked, well, from our past history, we've been able to see people who have seniors, and we've seen their 5th grade report cards when they went to ProgressBook. So we're assuming it goes all the way to 12th grade, and it's an open vault, so so they are archived.
Is it okay for the different?
It's-
Did
it's-
you get
it's-
your answer?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, it's open forum now.
Okay, so on that home page where it shows my students' information, the contact phone number is a home phone that we never use.
Okay.
Is there a way to get a cell phone number instead?
There is. We actually, if you go to in the App Store, you'll see that gateway, update your student information.
In the app?
So in the waffle.
Oh, sorry.
So if you go to the waffle. You just have to
Doesn't
click
like
that.
me?
It doesn't like you. No, you're right. It doesn't.
Okay.
So click back on it. So we'll go. Why is it not liking you? Go home.
Okay. I had to double click. Oh, you got the waffle.
It's okay. So if we go here
Double click it.
to,
For me to get it expanded, I had to double click. You want me to try?
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you did it. You did it.
Okay.
Okay.
Now you want to go, keep scrolling down. Student update and that one. Okay. Now your username is your student's ID. So if you
Okay, I
don't know
have
what
that.
that number is, you go back here and you look
Okay,
them
I have
up.
it.
And then the password is his 8-digit birthday.
Is his 8-digit birthday?
Are there student ID numbers on?
So yes, their student ID number, if you go back to your students, the student ID number is listed like right under their name. So you can log in there and it'll take you through the process of changing the phone number. You can just delete.
You don't have to wait for me.
Okay. So, and when it takes you into that too, when you change that phone number, make sure that it's also the phone number that you use for the alert contacts.
That's true.
and you want to make sure you update that in the email. So, and then that will generate, once you click on save, it'll push it all through and it'll update it in the system. Any other questions?
Is the number 200 for the map?
So map itself is the RIT scores continue to grow. So basically, it's the number 200. It depends on, there's grade level years and all that. So I can't basically tell you that on the grade level.
So if it says like for one it said growth 6 and the other had nothing, does that mean she's just staying the same?
So growth 6 means from one test period to the next test period, they grew 6 points. That's about a year's worth of growth. The
So
zero,
nothing,
the nothing means,
I mean,
yeah,
you know,
so if there is
it's
growth
like
0,
1%.
that means the score was probably about the same. So it was a 231 and a 231. That means, that doesn't mean they didn't grow throughout the year. That means on their test score it didn't show growth. Well, it also could mean that the test was boring, or I clicked through, or there are other reasons behind as to why we see growth. But MAP says average year's growth is between 6 and 8 RIT points.
Okay.
So you can kind of have some of those conversations. And it also depends on, some of it depends on percentile as well. So if you have a student who's in the 95th or 97th percentile, getting that growth is going to be a lot harder than seeing a student who's in, say, who's in average, which would be the 50th percentile.
Okay, I understand. Every time I hear that though, I have to say from a parent perspective,
It's-
even our children who are, children who are at the top, we want to see growth.
Absolutely. So do I.
I'm get frustrated with that.
And I'm not saying that growth is not a bad thing. We do want to see growth, and we should see growth. What I'm saying is you may not see as much growth as you would from a student who's in that normal percent. You want to see growth. Yeah, and that's the difference. So, and the counterpoint is there. And MAP, depending on where you're at with MAP sometimes, there is a ceiling. MAP itself has a ceiling. It doesn't have the ceiling like the state tests have, where there's a hardcore stop on it. But MAP eventually runs out of room. So especially our older,
Oh, so like if you're in the 99th percentile, you cannot grow?
you cannot. So when you're in the 99th percentile, yes. Like you're up there, depending on the grade level you're at. So we have students we have some very gifted students who are actually, they are tasking MAP out to the fact that they're especially in math, they're up there and they're doing crazy math problems in that 90th percentile. They're going to continue to grow. But MAP runs out of those questions. They don't bring in like abstract calculus, and they don't bring in those types. So there's only certain math questions that they can get to. So at some point, the assessment kind of runs out. So for the tail of the bell curve, like those students who are up there, there is a ceiling. I mean, there's a ceiling for every assessment.
For verbal too, or just for math?
Not as much for verbal, for more math, but you do see it. I mean, when you're on that tail, that's that real hard spot to continue to kind of stay. Yes, you're growing, but if you're staying within that percentile and staying there, and you're so far out there, I mean, it's a good thing to continue. As long as you're not seeing them come back and regress back, and that's typically, I mean, through typical progression too, we do see regression back towards the mean. I mean, throughout development too. So, you may be gifted early, and we see regret. So you do see some of that as well. But no, I mean, there's going to be growth, and we would push that growth and all that. But, the growth itself is not going to be as great.
It is interesting though, because sometimes the math people say they should have hit a certain amount of growth that they're not hitting.
And MAP uses an algorithm to show that growth, and it is harder to hit that growth too with them. So some of those, I mean, sometimes it's a tough thing to, I mean, it can be a challenge to teach those students.
Thank you for explaining that.
Absolutely.
What did you say that we used for the password when we were changing the contact information after we put in the
It is the
student ID?
student ID, and the password is the 8-digit birthday with no slashes or dashes. So for January 23rd, it'll be 0123.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much.
Hope I could help. I will get my card. I will leave my card. If you need to get a hold of me, please feel free. Give me a call, email me. I'm lonely at times, so. If you just want to talk, I'm more than happy to do that as well.
We're lonely.
So.
All right, thank you, Dr. Tino. We appreciate you presenting this information. Thank you guys for being here.